everyone. Welcome to this session on the Peer Writing Mentor Program. My name is Ildiko Barsony. I teach composition classes at the North Campus, and I am one of the faculty leads for the Humanities Edge. And I had the honor and pleasure to host some peer writing mentors over the course of the past few semesters. And I'm here to share some of the lessons that I learned. And I hope that my colleagues will find this helpful. So first, if this was a live session, I would probably ask you, peer writing mentor, what would be the definition of a peer writing mentor, and how is that different from a regular tutor, an embedded tutor? What might that look like for another discipline, a peer math tutor or a peer history tutor, let's say, or mentor, I should say. So if you'd like to pause the video and reflect on that a little bit, that's wonderful. I'll come back to this graphic, this Venn diagram at the end of the presentation, and hopefully I'll be able to fill in some of those gaps there. So this is what I'd like to talk about for the next few minutes. I want to explain how we designed and implemented this program with the Humanities Edge. I'd like to share some of the strategies that I used and found helpful in my practice, some of the outcomes that we observed from the program in general, some from my classes and some general outcomes from my classes and other classes and other peer writing mentors, not just mine. And then I'll talk about what sort of materials I brought for you today. So just really quickly, the program is part of the Humanities Edge grant. We developed it with our partner institution, Florida International University. Their learning assistance program was so successful that they designed the peer writing mentor program for history classes. And then we just kind of planned together and thought about how we can implement it at MDC as well. And so in our pilot semesters, we had several English and some humanities professors hosting peer writing mentors and contributing to the lessons learned. So what I'm going to share today is mostly my experience, but I'll have some strategies, best practices, and lessons learned from my colleagues as well. So it's just a little timeline of implementation. We started back in 2020 on 2 campuses. And by this current semester, the fall of 2023, we have the program ongoing and on all of these different campuses and locations. So going back to the original question, what is a peer writing mentor, or who is a peer writing mentor? How is his or her job different from a tutor's job? And the key definition here is the definition of mentorship. How is a mentor different from a tutor? And I really like this definition from Nicholson and colleagues because it highlights, I think it highlights those 3 key tenets of a mentor or mentorship. And that is voluntary. It's a voluntary relationship between individuals. The peer writing mentors we recruit for the job are getting paid. It's a stipend. But we ask them, we recruit them from our classes. We don't make them do it. They do it because they like to help others. As you can probably see from the video that you will find on this library guide. The other key is that they are peers. The way we recruit peer writing mentors is, or what we try to do is recruit the students who are finishing our classes. If it's, I can speak from my discipline, I start early on in ENC 1101, and the students who do very well in ENC 1101 will be my mentors when they're completing their ENC 1102 classes. They might be serving as mentors in an ENC 1101 class. So they're not peers, as in they're not classmates, but they're near peers. And so that helps a lot, especially if they are from, if I'm able to recruit from my own classes, because they'll know the material, they had just completed the course, and they'll know me as a person as well. And the reciprocity is also very important, because the mentors also learn from the students. They're so close to each other. And so they develop together personally and professionally. So I think that definition really carries what it the meaning of what it means to be a peer writing mentor, but let's just take a closer look. If I look at the job description, that might not be too different from that of a tutor. This is actually the job description from our website. When I recruit my potential peer writing mentors, they'll fill out this application form. And this is what they actually read on the website. So they could be any major. They don't have to be a humanities major to serve in this role. They work close together with me, with my guidance, to help my students in ENC 1101 classes. And one significant difference, though, is that when I have embedded tutors, when I have a chance to have an embedded tutor in my class, I usually just get one embedded tutor for a class of 25, and perhaps not for the length of the duration of the term, but 1 or 2 classes when I really need them for a workshop. A peer writing mentor would have a caseload, though. So in a class of 25, I have 2 peer writing mentors, because we want to make sure that they don't have more than 15 students in their caseload. So this is the job description continued from the website. So what do they do with these students? They help them with their writing assignments. They meet one-on-one at any stage of the writing process. They guide students with the activities, and they also mentor them. So it's not just necessarily about my assignments and my class, but they provide guidance just in general, how to do college, what to do next, how to register for the next semester. And they do that with the group of students that they are responsible for. On this page, I have a link to the actual application form if anybody would like to see what this looks like on the website. And we'll also link this up to the library guide. So what are some of the strategies that I found work really well with my peer writing mentors? Well, the first thing is, I mentioned this briefly already, is a strategy that helps with recruitment. We find the biggest challenge with this program is recruitment, because even though we have a job description and a link for an application form, and it's online and it's convenient, and our director reaches out to the cohort and we try to advertise this job opportunity, we don't get very many applications that way. So my best practices, my best strategy, what I found work is recruit from my own classes. It is how the program was designed anyway. It was designed so the students I work with one semester will have the students that I work in the next semester. And I find it really helps. So when I get my ENC 1101 students and I give them that first writing assignment, I literally keep tabs on the good writers, and I kind of monitor them throughout the semester if they are also good students, they're responsible, they help their peers, they don't mind working in groups, they don't mind talking to their classmates. Then those will be the students that I ask to fill out that application form and become a peer writing mentor. And I have had students who were in 1101 with me one term, and the very next semester, while they were taking 1102, were enrolled as peer writing mentors in my 1101 class. The other best practice, another strategy that I found and figured out over time was to make sure that I give opportunities during class time, especially at the beginning, to share, to talk to students. The first time around, I had peer writing mentors. I had them in my class, but students wouldn't reach out to them because they were just an additional person sitting in the classroom, and they didn't really get the concept because they didn't really have too many chances to talk. So I now intentionally design activities that will require students to talk to the mentors during class time, to make an appointment during class time if they need to work on something, or it's a makeup opportunity that they can work on to make sure that they make that appointment during class time. Especially at the beginning, I try to make these opportunities to meet mandatory and during class time. So that's important. I find that once they establish a relationship and establish a connection, then they will be more likely to reach out outside of class. So that is a time that I might lose for instruction. It's a time well spent because they will invest that time elsewhere, outside of class. Another strategy is to really be very clear about what it is that I want the peer writing mentors to do. And I do that at the beginning. After they say yes, I send them an email and I tell them this is exactly what this program is gonna look like. Because, and what you see on the screen in that blue field is a quote from, I think it was from a focus group, or yes, it was from the focus group, that a lot of times the mentors are really worried about the time commitment, right? It's not enough. We tell them it's about 20 hours a week, but what does that look like? How intense is that work that they are required to put in during those 20 hours, give or take? So I send them an email, and in that email, I really outline the engagement, what it is that that this job will involve, because that job description online is, even though there's a lot of bullets, is very broad. So I tell them that they will work about 10 hours on campus and 10 hours flexible on campus and at home. They have to attend every class. I want them to be in each class session. I also want them to spend 2 to 3 hours, sometimes more. I change that once in a while, depending on what my class is like. But no more than, I would say, 4 or 5 in the writing center, because it's important for the mentors to establish that connection with the writing center, with experienced tutors, with folks who actually have had a lot of experience in tutoring and helping people with writing assignments. So they do their training in the writing center, but as they get trained and as they get really good at providing help and writing assistance, they also help out in the writing center, and they can tutor other students as well. So, this is a partnership between the class, the instructor, and the writing center. There's a mandatory 1-hour meeting, or just about a 1-hour meeting every week in my office, when we talk about everything, what needs to be done each week. We talk about the students that reached out, who did you help, who needs help, what should we do, what do you think that we did in your class might be helpful with this class, or what should I do differently. And so they should have about 10 hours, including some time to help students on campus. The other half the time, they will be planning for their activities. They have some flexibility in how they want to lead some activities. They're going to submit their biweekly reports, meeting students online, emailing students, sending reminders via email, WhatsApp. My students usually do WhatsApp, but they could do whatever way they want to communicate with students. So that really helps, because it really gives them an idea of what this engagement will look like. I mentioned training, also included in the first email. The training is very, very important, because there's a big difference between editing somebody's work, doing the work for them, and of course, tutoring them, helping them with the writing assignments. So the peer writing mentors need to know that they are, just they're students. They're not trained tutors, so they need to know how to tutor. They need to learn that skill. And our Learning Resources Department has a wonderful library guide that they actually use to train tutors. I used back when I worked in Learning Resources as a writing coach. And so I still direct my peer writing mentors to that same library guide. And I will also include a link to this library guide in this faculty workshop guide, so you can take a look at that. I tell them to review the first 4 modules in this library guide, and that should give them enough to get started. And then in addition, they will be training with an experienced tutor in the writing center. And here are some other strategies that I myself use in the class, but also these are strategies that my colleagues have talked about and recommended. Professor Brook-Brovey utilizes the goal statement. I sometimes forget, but I have done it. And it's it's a really good strategy, because our tutors, our peer writing mentors, are interns. We don't count their times. We don't have a timesheet to sign off on every week. So they are really responsible for their own time and completing their own assignments, and responsible for their own learning and what they take away from the experience. So Professor Bovey has the mentors write a goal statement, especially if there's a new mentor coming on board with us. What are your goals? What are you trying to get out of this experience? And of course, we talk about that at the end of the 10 weeks experience to see how that went. We take that goal statement and look at that. The caseloads are, I mentioned earlier, really makes a difference between a tutor and a peer writing mentor. And they're really taking a leadership role with the students that they are responsible. They figure out how to get them to participate, figure out new ways to nudge them, new ways to reach out to them. Another thing that I think we all have done from the conversations with my colleagues is what Professor Bovey calls take the podium day. We all have our peer writing mentors present in the class on a topic of their choice. whatever they feel that these new students who are usually in their first semester, first or second semester at the college should know. The topics vary from how to register for classes, how to look at your map, how to make appointments with advisors. So sort of like how to do college type of things, all the way to some of the peer writing mentors have shared their research, what their research was about in ENC 1102, for example. Maybe they have done some grammar lesson plans, some of them, or composition lessons, maybe in a humanities class. A peer writing mentor might do a quick review on what a good essay looks like, and so on. So they do 1 or 2, sometimes more, lectures, 5-10 minute lectures in class. So that has been a best practice, because often the mentors talk about how that was a great opportunity to practice their own public speaking skills and be a leader and step up to the plate. The slides that you see on my slides links to one of the tutors from Kendall campus, Yana's slides. She actually created a best practices for peer writing mentors from a peer writing mentor. So best practices for future peer writing mentors. So those slides will be also available at the library guide. And finally, I also mentioned earlier that we require students to meet with us once a week. And these debriefing meetings have been really helpful. Could be at the beginning of 1 week or towards the end of 1 week, but they have been really helpful in reflecting on the experiences and planning ahead. And oftentimes the mentors are talking about how these have been helpful for them. So those were some of the strategies or best practices for me to share. And let me now talk briefly about what outcomes we have observed with this program. So what we expected here is benefits to both mentors and students. So not only the students, but the mentors as well. So let me start with the benefits to students, because that's probably the most obvious one, right? The students who have peer writing mentors will benefit academically. We collect surveys, we collect their experiences on surveys, we have data on pass rates, and certainly it looks like having a peer writing mentor really helps understanding the material, brainstorming for assignments. They gain confidence by having a peer writing mentor around. And you can see some of the quotes on the screen from these various surveys that we conducted among students. There's also, of course, the social interpersonal gains that they talk about. Especially, I think, during those lectures, those mini lectures, when many of my peer writing mentors decide to talk about these how to do college sort of topics, and that's fine. We get a lot of good feedback on that. As far as hard data, I just want to talk about my own pass rates from this one semester. This is something that I see consistently in every semester, but I can't always compare apples to apples. Last fall, I had 2 classes that were exactly the same, Monday, Wednesday, blended classes, so no Friday meetings. And the retention, the pass rates were very clearly much better in the class that had peer writing mentors than in the class that did not have peer writing mentors. This was the term that wasn't really great for ENC 1101 classes college-wide. We had a very low pass rate of 68.2%. My classes, even without the peer writing mentors, was better, but with the peer writing mentors was 79%. Still not great, but was much better than the college-wide rate, and very, very comparable to classes where I got to meet the students face-to-face the time. Like I said, these were blended classes. So having that peer writing mentor really, I felt, really made up for the extra time that those students could have used with me in the classroom. And so some of the benefits to the mentors, we have lots of data for this one, and I have quite a few slides here coming up, and I'm not going to read everything. But we do collect a lot of data from those goal statements that I mentioned, the biweekly reflections, the survey at the end of the program. And we also conducted a focus group last spring. So we have lots of good quantitative and qualitative data regarding how the mentors benefit from the program. And interesting enough that we expected leadership to be one of the major skills to be gained. According to the survey, the mentors didn't they didn't see it that way. But then when we look at their qualitative responses and see what they're talking about, we can see that, in fact, they became leaders, and we really improved their leadership skills as well. So let's see some of these skills. So academics is obviously one of them. Like we say, by teaching, you learn. As they review certain grammar areas because they have to explain something to the students, or they refresh their skills, refresh their memories on the content that they had just covered in last semester or a couple of semesters before. Obviously, they feel that that's helpful because they refresh their own memories and they learn, they gain academically. But then there's the interpersonal skills. Many of the mentors reflect on how communication is difficult sometimes. And so they reflect on those experiences, how they have to paraphrase and paraphrase again, depending on the type of learner they are talking to. Many of them see the value, even if they're not necessarily humanities, many of them will see the value of this experience to their professional lives. And so that's clear from their reflections. And finally, as I mentioned, when they rank the skills on the survey of the skills that they think that they gained, they don't think they became such leaders. But when we look at their qualitative responses, we actually do see a lot of leadership coming through those qualitative responses. And to me personally, I really enjoy reading the when they talk about the frustrations, when they notice that many times the students who should be reaching out to them are not reaching out, and no matter what they do, they can't get a response. And so to me, that's leadership, because they see, and they, just like we are sometimes frustrated, we offer help and we don't have takers, they see that same thing, and they truly appreciate being able to assist the ones that do take advantage of the opportunity. So now coming back finally to the beginning, I hope that this was helpful in seeing what a peer writing mentor program looks like, what we piloted, and how that might occur in another class. So if you are a writing math teacher, how might you have a peer math mentor? or in any other subjects. So one of the big differences, of course, I think, is the caseload. The fact that they have a limited but intensive time with the students that they are in charge of. I don't think that I mentioned directly that the program runs up to 10 weeks. So a peer writing mentor in a 16-week term would typically start maybe in week 5 and go on to week 15, or week 6 to week 16. But that time is very intensive, and with a smaller group of students, then an embedded tutor would be dealing with or a tutor who would see a student in a writing center. One of my peer writing mentors this term actually also got a job in the writing center. So she has both of those experiences, and she's told me several times already that she actually enjoys being a peer writing mentor much more because of the relationships that she can build with the students, because she understands the assignments a lot better than just in the writing center when the assignment is not familiar to her. And so I would also like to reflect on how we might use some of these strategies with embedded tutor. What if we don't have peer writing mentors, but we have tutors in the writing center? Or maybe we can request an embedded tutor to come visit our classes, maybe just a couple of times a term. So in just thinking about all the things that I shared, these are some of the things that I came up with. Normally, if this was a synchronous session, we would stop here and probably brainstorm together. But so I did some of that work just before we recorded this session. And so these are some of the things that I came up with. And I hope that you have many other ideas. So one of the things is the recruitment piece, right? So even if we don't have a peer writing mentorship program, it is always a good idea to be on the lookout for the good writers, for a skillful student, because our learning resources department has a lot of times they have opportunities or access services, or somewhere on our campus there might be a job opportunity. Oftentimes there is a job opportunity for these students. And so if they are a great writer and a helpful student, a responsible person, that's just to our benefit and a benefit to students on our campuses. The other piece is creating those opportunities, right? So if we can get an embedded tutor, in creating opportunities in the classroom to have a specific task. I'm sure we do it anyway because that's why we have an embedded tutor. We have a specific task, but make sure that those embedded tutors intentionally will see the students who need the most help and can use that opportunity to maybe make an appointment for after class time to come see that tutor outside of the class. Before peer writing mentorship, I sometimes took the whole class to the writing center. We went on a field trip. If there's an opportunity to have class somewhere near the writing center, maybe a couple of times you can book a classroom near the writing center and, just send students over maybe during class time, but somehow you capitalize on the class time and create those opportunities where we can make that bridge. And once the bridge is built, then the students will take advantage of the writing center. In MDC Navigate now, I noticed recently students can pick the tutor, and then they can choose if they want to see that tutor in person or they want to see that tutor via Zoom. So that's a good piece of information I didn't know until recently. But that offers such a good way for students to see a tutor. Once they establish that connection, maybe they're not on campus, but they can see that tutor online. What if we do have peer writing mentors, but maybe not that many? Hopefully there'll be a greater demand on these opportunities. Then perhaps we can think about maybe strategically requesting peer writing mentors, or maybe not one, but two embedded tutors, but in the courses that are historically difficult. I'm thinking those second 8-week ENC 1101 courses, or maybe sometimes those spring term ENC 1101 courses. So if we have to be strategic and we can have them all over in all of our ENC 1101 classes, maybe we can just have them in those that we expect to be a little bit more difficult. And perhaps even if we don't have a program, we can invite our ENC 1102 students back to talk to our 1101 students in other ways. Perhaps we can figure out a way that there might be a service learning opportunity through our ISET. Perhaps we can make that connection to still have that take the podium day, but for maybe a service hour. Come and do that, or maybe come and help us one day with a peer editing session, and maybe we can offer some service learning hours for those opportunities. So those are just some of the ways that I thought we can use these strategies even when we don't have peer writing mentors. But I'm sure if we could sit together today, we would come up with a lot more ways to engage the students. And so finally, these are the materials that I'm going to be sharing with you on the library guide. The two links that I mentioned in this presentation were, one is the application form to be a peer writing mentor, and then the other is the library guide that we use to train our tutors in learning resources, and I used to direct my peer writing mentors to. I'll share some of my sample emails to my mentors in which I detail, give them the breakdown of what the 20 hours a week, give or take, will entail. And I will also share my Canvas page that I have for the mentors, where students can see a little bio, when the mentors are actually in the writing center, and how they can get in touch with them, their contact information. I have created a page for that in Canvas. Thank you very much for listening to this presentation. That is my contact information if I can be of assistance. And I also included Mr. Pascal's email. He's the director of the Humanities Edge. Thank you.